Hey, unless you've been living under a rock or your internet is switched off, you should have heard about Elementor Cloud. What's this all about? Elementor Cloud is literally that. It's cloud hosting for your Elementor website with WordPress on the cloud. So it's a pretty nifty package, I have to say, for what you get for $99. And I'll come back to the price in a moment. But you're getting Elementor Pro, which is normally $49. WordPress, which you would get free anyway, usually as part of your hosting. But then for an extra $50, which is what the 99 is made up of, you're getting Google Cloud Hosting. This is super good. There's a link in the description if you want to go and click and get it, but I'm not telling you or forcing you to do that. You make your own decision. But just look at the features here. Google Cloud Platform, CDN by Cloudflare, custom domain connection. Now I will come back onto domain. This video isn't just about me saying how wonderful Elementor Cloud is. We are going to put it through its paces. Page speed, importing a website, testing out plugins and optimization and things like that. But at the same time, I also tested out the domain as well. Could I get one in? How long did it take? And have I got any tips for you, especially when it comes to emails? Very important, okay? So we are going to put it through its paces. If you've always struggled a little bit with what's my best host to go for, if you can now get one that's coupled with Elementor Pro and WordPress and all of that, and it only contains or allows you access to plugins that work with Elementor, and there's no conflict, of course you can't predict what's going to happen in the future. None of us can. But if it allows you to use what works, that's pretty good in my opinion. Here's the key bit. 100 gigabytes of bandwidth. You're allowed 100,000 monthly unique visits and you get 20 gigabytes of storage. The bandwidth and the monthly unique visits and all of that is a little bit of a grey area because it's a bit like the chicken and the egg. So, which one are you likely to run out most? So please bear in mind what you think you're going to get in terms of visits. So look at what you're currently getting now. Where do you potentially think you're going to be in the future? And the same goes with your bandwidth. Remember though, this is WordPress. So if at any point you suddenly realized I need 1 terabyte of bandwidth or whatever, okay, you could just export your website and go elsewhere. Not that I'm recommending you do that, okay, because there's always a bit of a hassle. But if you start to hit the limits, you could then take your website elsewhere. You can't do that with Wix and Squarespace. Remember, their infrastructure does not allow you to take the website elsewhere. This is WordPress, so we can do that. Right, let's carry on. Now, when I first heard about Elementor Cloud, there were 2 things that cropped up in my head. One was SSL certificate, and the other was backups. Luckily, Elementor Cloud gives you that as well. And I think that is a great selling point in terms of you're not having to get a separate certificate, which is a pain, or you're using another third-party plugin. And the fact you get backups. Now, of course, if you want to use Updraft or other solutions, please go ahead and do that. But if you get it as part of your host, it's a little bit of a sense of relief, especially for those that might not think about backups, that the fact it's happening on a daily basis is a super good thing. It is every 24 hours, though. So if you need it to run every hour, 4 hours, or whatever, you might have to think about a different solution. We'll come back onto SiteLock as well about what that is important for and when you might use it. Look, you get premium support as well, and I've tested this out, okay, where you have actually a live chat icon, so you can actually start speaking to someone. The fact that that's only $50 more than what you would pay for an Elementor Pro license, which works out to about, just over $4 a month, that's quite a good deal. Now, you could argue with me and say, yep, but I could get hosting on the cloud for $8, $9 from somewhere else. Fine, you can go and do that. But now that we have the fact that when you get the website or the access to it, it already has Elementor and Elementor Pro installed and WordPress, etc. It's got all of that there for you. It's a slightly more efficient way to work. And if you've got a client who's not too bothered about their hosting or whatever, they just want to get a website online, this could work out to be a pretty good solution, especially if there was ever an issue anywhere with Elementor. You've got live chat connected to Elementor Pro and the hosting, the cloud basically. So it's like a marriage made in heaven, I think, or something like that anyway. I'm in my Elementor.com account, and you can clearly see here that I've got a website hosted by Elementor. I've already purchased the cloud, and I've gone and moved a domain over. I've done this because I just wanted to show you or talk to you about something you might want to bear in mind if you are moving a domain over from another provider. It's quite important, okay? But when I initially went onto this, it just basically had like a elementor.cloud / website, whatever. It just gave me an empty platform, okay, that I could start building on. It had WordPress, it had Elementor Pro installed, and I could start building. I had the opportunity to bring over a custom domain later, but I didn't have to do that straight away. So that's great as well. So you could build your website and then bring your domain over. I would always say get your domain over first, if I'm honest, or apply a custom one. So when you go to Hosted by Elementor, there's the website. We have the options for OpenWP dashboard. So you're basically going to go straight into your WordPress admin. You got Edit with Elementor, which I found doesn't always work for me because I have to have pages in there. And then manage this website. Now, manage this website is super, super important. I've brought over a custom domain. This is actually a test website we had a long, long time ago where we were building personal trainer pages and stuff like that. We don't use it anymore, so don't go there. I basically brought that over, and that domain was hosted on SiteGround. It was purchased and hosted on SiteGround. To get this domain over, and you will see the option over here, add custom domain. When you click that, you're then going to decide what domain you're bringing over. But what you have to do on your hosting provider or wherever your domain is based, you might have to put this in, okay? The A record. So you would go to like your DNS editor or wherever it is, your control panel. You would then add in an A record, and you can talk to your host provider about this. It's different for everyone. But with SiteGround, you go to DNS editor, you select a record, and you put that value in. And that value then took about an hour to pull through. It took about an hour. It can take 12 to 24 hours to propagate. But if you've got a domain, you've got to do that. However, I just want to point out something, and I am deviating, and I'm sorry for that. If you have a domain that's on SiteGround or anywhere else, look at the DNS records and you will see there is already an A record that might point to a SiteGround server. You must delete them. If you do not delete them and you've gone and added in the code that Elementor just gave us there to pop in, right, your website will conflict. And what will happen is it will say it's gone over, but it ain't gone over. And every time you work on it, you're actually still working on the SiteGround host. And if you delete it, you'll lose everything. So please make sure that if you've got any A records, the only A records you should have should be the ones here. If you've got them elsewhere, you're going to get confused. So make sure you double check with your host provider that have I now moved that domain to another location, i.e. the Elementor Cloud. So please, please remember to do that. However, I just want to stress that sometimes you've got to make the decision over whether you are going to pull over your domain or are you going to start afresh. What do I mean by that? Elementor Cloud does not give you email, it doesn't give you emails as part of your domain. As part of Elementor Cloud, you are allowed 100 emails a day that might come from Elementor. So you know when you have a contact form or a WooCommerce order notification or something like that, from your website, you're allowed up to 100 a day. Please bear this in mind. If you think you're going to have more than 100 a day, this solution might not work for you, but please bear this in mind. 100 a day. However, Elementor does not control your email. So if on SiteGround or wherever, you've got a domain and you had hosting and you had an email and you've now moved your domain over here, and you switch off the hosting in SiteGround, you're going to lose your email. And this is where I had to have a think and go, right, sometimes moving the domain over and having two hosting, website, email, isn't a great idea. It's not cost productive or efficient or whatever. So what I recommend you do is go over here. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm deviating a tiny bit because this is important. Zoho.com. We've all heard of Zoho. It's been around since I was like that tall or whatever. I've always been that tall. But Zoho allows you to purchase domains and emails connected to your domain. Now, a domain on here is about $10 a year. It's pretty relatively cheap, so you could get your domain. But what you also want to do is get your email. Now, when it comes to email, okay, don't be fooled by MailLite, Email Premium, or Workplace. If you scroll down, you also have the Forever Free plan. So you're allowed up to 5 gigabytes per user, which is quite good if you delete your emails and all of that. And well, you can make a decision over what you want to go. The pricing isn't that bad, if I'm honest, okay? You know, it's less than a dollar or a pound a month or whatever. But the reason I'm telling you to do this is that if you register your domain and get the email here, which is relatively cheap, and then connect back to Elementor, okay, over here, when you add the custom domain, you'll have your domain you want, and you'll have the email you want, and you're not having to worry about another hosting provider. Does that make sense? Because a lot of emails that you buy with, say, other providers, you got to buy a hosting package. And I would love to see Elementor start to introduce something like that. I hope it's on the cards. I don't know. I can't predict the future. However, I would love to see that as part of it. But I also understand why it's not. You got your domain. Your email's connected to your domain. There are many other funky ways you could do the connection so you don't have to worry about it. But I'm just warning you that if you think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I've got my domain, I'm going to pull it over, your email, if it's attached to your domain, might still stay with your old host. So please, please, please bear that in mind. So proptwebsites.com, that's the domain I brought over. But then I also, when I created the A record, I also created an A record for www.proptwebsites. And this caught me out. My domain does not have www. But when you move to a cloud system, Cloudflare, whatever, the www becomes active. So when I first ported it over, it seemed to come over, but then it hadn't. And then my brain clicked into gear after checking with live chat, and I'll come on to live chat in a moment. www. So in my A record in SiteGround, I did one for ProPT, and I added in www as well for ProPT websites. And then it all came over, and I've now set that as my primary. Okay, it's up to you what you set as your primary. It's up to you, but you can do that. If you do forget what your IP is for your website, it reminds you over here. Copy it, paste it in, and away you go. Now, you will notice down here, it says Site Lock. What Site Lock does is kind of prevent your website from getting indexed or found on Google or, you know, searched and all that. What it also does is stop anyone accessing your website. Let me show you what I mean. There is a code here. You can click that and it's going to show you the code. I will not show you my code. And I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to go to this website. Let me just click it. Sorry, this website is hidden right now. So until you put in the code, no one can actually see the pages. So it's like a blocker in effect, you know, which I think isn't a bad feature. However, you could quite easily not allow this because let's say you're testing out your website, you're going to incognito mode, private, whatever. You don't want to keep putting in the PIN number. So you could easily stop this happening by adding in like a coming soon page or something like that. Or if you're worried about Google indexing your website, don't forget, in WordPress, when you go to your settings, you can stop it from being indexed. So, you know, it's up to you how you want to do that. This is set to default is on, by the way, as well. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm just going to scroll down here. We have backups. So at the minute, you can see that I just started actually working on this yesterday, and it's already done a backup. I'm expecting another one to occur around about that time today as well. And we also have some debugging tools as well. However, if I have any problems with the website, I'm probably going to go to the live chat. Can you see it down here? It's right down there. You can't miss it, okay? It's a little life dinghy, whatever you want to call it. Now, if I click this, this is going to open up my live chats, okay? So here I've already done 2. What's really cool about this is I did not find that much of a delay, and the people that came back to me knew their stuff. I intentionally asked a difficult question about domains and stuff, even though I knew the answer, just to see where would they go. And they were spot on with what they said and what they found out. This first one here, when I first put on my problem, was talking to me within 2 minutes. This one over here was about 4 minutes. And you might go, 4 minutes for live chat? Remember, I don't know how many people there are working on this right now. But for me to be able to speak to someone within 4 minutes, and I did this very late. I think it was close to 11:30 p.m. last night. Quite late. Okay, and I don't know where they are in the world. Okay, I'm going to assume it was probably 3 a.m. in the morning. I don't know. It was very responsive, really good. There was no aggressiveness. They were kind. It felt like the kind of spirit you get in the Elementor community anyway. So I am going to give it a big thumbs up, okay? You might have a different experience. I was happy. Now, I do also want to mention something else. Over here, you'll say it says view subscription. Let's just click that. Hey, I'm over here now, just covering up my address details. This is basically showing you what you should already kind of know. What are you paying for? What's your subscription? And over here, you'll see the option where we can set up auto renewal. I think it was really good that they disabled that. So if you're just trying it out, and after a year, you're not going to auto-renew, it won't do that, okay? So just bear that in mind. It's not set to on, which I think, again, is quite nice that they haven't forced it like a lot of other plugins or systems do. Let's now get right into the website. Let's start messing around with plugins. I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to activate all the plugins, all the optimization settings, any other settings I do, and I'm going to let you know, did I find any issue or was it all okay? Okay, so this is pretty good. You know, we've got the dashboard, we've got the kind of normal kind of stuff that WordPress and whatever likes to throw at you, and we've got a little bit more detail about Elementor. This is quite good. Connect your own site, turn off site lock, allow search engine visibility. So they've got some good little tips and hints there. This is really good. I'm just going to get rid of some of these, not because I don't like them, but just because I like my websites to be super, super clean when I come to WordPress. Okay, now I'm going to very quickly go through all of the settings here, okay? I'm just going to go to settings and I'm going to go to general. We have the lifeboat. Hello! We can still do live chat. Isn't that good? It's actually not just part of the cloud bit where I got to manage. It's actually in the website as well. Come on, that's quite a nice little thing, isn't it? Obviously, we've got all the settings over here for setting your home page, your discussion, and of course, you got your media as well. I always like to do that because I don't like to have multiple copies of images, but that's just me. Permalinks is fine as well. But here's where we hit a bit of an issue when we get to users. At the moment, it says I am admin, and if I go in to edit that, I cannot change my username over here. That's kind of set in stone. So that is something I would like Elementor to hopefully change or give us the ability to set that right at the start. Now, if you can do that, when you're in the Elementor Cloud bit, manage, I can't find it. So if that is able to be fixed, that would be great, super great, okay? Because a lot of us don't like to use admin, right? I mean, you could, if you want, set up another account. The only problem is, though, if you set up another account with a different username, but it's the same email address, WordPress won't allow that. So you might need to use a different email address. But again, bear that in mind. I'm going to get rid of the dummy post because I don't want it. Elementor do give you quite a bit more than what you normally would get in WordPress. In WordPress, you probably get like a sample page and a privacy policy. They've given us a home page, about, and contact us. The reason they've done that is so that they can actually give you like a fake header and a fake website. Let me show you what I mean. If I go over here and I go to view site, this is what you see. It says the site lock is on, so no one can view this at the moment. I can, obviously. And we've got this header. And we've got some icons there as well, made with love with Elementor. Okay, so they're giving you a bit of a starting block in effect. So if you don't want the about or contacts or the home page, whatever, just delete it and start from afresh. If you go to appearance, the hello theme is automatically present and activated. And I would definitely recommend you do that unless you need a very niche theme that comes with some special features that you really, really need. Otherwise, just stick with hello. You can see here, they've already also given you a menu as well. So they're giving you a little bit more than you would actually get with a fresh WordPress installation. You don't normally get a menu. So this is actually giving you a starting block if you're new or just getting used to, okay, how do I do things? I know I've got about and contact us on this page, but how do I rearrange or where do I go for it? There is some help here then for you to get started. That's really good, I think. It's something extra that you don't normally get with WordPress, and it's the activity log. So over here, we can now see where, hey, look, I've trashed and deleted the themes. Yay! Or yay. But this is quite nice. So if you've got multiple users or admin or whatever, you can keep a track of what's going on. How much does that impact on your storage space? I'm not so sure, but I'm like to think it's minimal at most. In the media library, there is nothing. Which again, the WordPress fresh installation normally has like an image. I think it's like of a computer screen or a plant pot or something. This saves you deleting it. Now in the Elementor settings, it has already unchecked these two boxes. This is probably one of the most important settings you must do. Unless you want your theme to overwrite your global colors and your fonts, make sure they're unchecked. We can just quickly go through style, integrations, fine, advanced. Look, this is all standard stuff here, and we have the experiments. Now, at the moment, these experiments are all set to default. I'm not here to talk to you about optimization, but I'm just going to activate some of these. I've activated the first two there, improved asset and CSS. And then down here, I'm just going to do the DOM and the accessibility as well. And that's it for now. In fact, I'll do form submissions as well. That's not a bad one to do if you want to keep a record of what's being submitted. Let's just save those changes. And of course, we have the tools as well. So regenerate files. You got version control as well. You know, if you need to roll back or whatever. So everything here at the moment is what I expect. But I do want to stress, or I hope I'm stressing, that this was all here for us. I didn't have to install Elementor. I didn't have to install Elementor Pro. In fact, if we go to plugins, I can even tell you what version we're on. And I did this yesterday. We have got the latest versions in. This is super great. I can enable auto updates or I can disable them. We've got the activity log. So if you don't like the activity log and you don't want it there, you can deactivate and remove it. It is not set in stone for you. Now, let's start adding in the plugins I would normally use. I've added in lots of plugins, but these are the ones I use as my core plugins when I build a website, okay? I would add extra if I really needed to, but this is all I need. I've got activity log, which I might keep or not keep. Asset cleanup, which is handy if you've got WooCommerce or other things present and you want to stop them loading on a page. Auto optimize, you know I use that a lot. Elementor Pro, rank map SEO, and then I got some 3 WooCommerce there. WooCommerce payments, WooCommerce PayPal payments as well, and WP Fastest Cash. There are 10 plugins there. Now, if this was not an e-commerce website, those 3 WooCommerce ones would not be there. So we'd go from 10 to 7. I'm pretty okay. Most of our websites, that's all we need. We like to keep things clean. Now, I've activated my settings on here for asset cleanup and auto optimize and everything else. I've done all of that. And it was all fine. However, there are some plugins you cannot use as part of Elementor Cloud. They do provide you with a list, but let me just show you what I mean. If I go to migration, okay, if you were migrating a website from somewhere else, all-in-one is my preferred solution. And luckily, it works with Elementor Cloud, so not all is lost. But things like Duplicator and a few others down here, there we go. WordPress Backup, WordPress Migrate DB. Never used that one before. SiteGround Migrator, they're not going to work. And if you're a little bit unsure, if you click Learn More, you will get a list over here. And there are some you're going to recognize and go, oh, I can't use that. But then you could argue, well, of course I can't. Look, you can't use Divi, right? You can't use Oxygen. Why would you be using it anyway? Jetpack. So there are some plugins on here that you might recognize and go, I do use that. Like I use WP Reset. I'm a little bit like, ooh, okay, we can't use that. However, there's probably going to be another solution or something else we can use. So please bear that in mind if there's anything on here. However, there will be an alternative that has kind of met the tick for what Elementor feel is most compatible with least issues. And I would say that's not completely a bad thing. Because if they think there's an issue or a reason why they're not including it as part of their hosting, I don't know. Is it a golden handshake? What is it? I don't know. Okay. But let's just go on the basis it's to do with incompatibility or potential issues. This is not a bad thing because it means that I'm now playing with plugins that are more safe and secure. Of course, there could be another third-party plugin which is you're allowed to install and it makes your website go crazy, okay? That's a little bit unpredictable, but please always be sure of what you're installing. If we go over here to templates, okay, and we go to save templates, this should be standard as to what we're all used to seeing as well within Elementor. Now, normally we would only see default kit. That's the standard you have there. And don't delete default kit. Even when you have your global colors, global fonts, don't delete it, all right? People make this mistake. Don't do that. starter kit footer, and starter kit header. So this was what they had originally given us on the homepage. Remember I showed you that? So again, there's a bit of a pointer as to what you need to do. Now you could edit this here, or you could go to your homepage and edit the header and footer there as well. You know the drill. You go to the page, you see the little yellow bar, you click it and you start messing around with it. Or you could just create your own from scratch. So it's really nice that Elementor have included that to help people out. Now inside of Elementor, when you're actually editing a page, this is all standard Elementor stuff, okay? The global settings, the features, the widgets, the elements, whatever you want to call them, okay? Modules, does it really matter what they're called? You can drop in whatever you want and get building with your page. Super, super simple and easy. Of course, follow good optimization techniques. Now, I am not going to build anything scientific on this page, mainly because I just want to test what is the page speed insight like with just this basic header on there. The reason I'm saying that is if I start to build it in a page, unless you've gone through systematically to check the custom load fonts, the image sizing and all of that, if I just give you a score, it's a little bit misrepresenting the fact that it's better to know what is your score right at the start. So I could literally get rid of this header and just drop in a heading like that. What is my score with a basic heading like that? And in a way, that's really what you want to start with. Because if your mobile and your desktop score is below 100%, 99 you can get away with, and it's not to do with your server speed, I would want to go back and investigate what's going on with your plugins. That is not what we're covering in this video. So I'm not going to build an entire page and test it because that would take quite a bit of time. But I'm just saying, test out now. So what's going to happen when we start to test with just a basic, we've got a basic header there. We'll do it with a basic header. Are we still going to hit 199%? However, before I do that, have you considered the fact that there is one little thing missing that we do touch on quite a lot in the Elementor Facebook and the Community Hub? Let's go back over to our WordPress dashboard. We can delete the cache. I can do auto-optimize, again, clear the cache. I can do asset cleanup, clear the cache. However, I cannot purge the server. So if I go back to Elementor and I'm back over here, the feature to basically purge is not there. Now you can see here on a blank page, obviously it's blank, but it is hitting 100% on the lab data. So it's doing pretty good. Of course, though, things like this largest contentful paint, some of that does actually is influenced by your server speed as well, but we're hitting 100%. Now don't all shout at me. You're going to say, but there's nothing on your page. I know, I get that. But if you're not getting 100%, with Elementor Pro, I've got WooCommerce loaded, I've got all these plugins loaded, okay? There's going to be an issue. But you're hitting 100% and we have got a header. That is good. But what about the mobile? Here's the mobile score, and I've added in a heading as well, just to add a bit of variation rather than just a header. 97%. Now again, you're going to be going, well, that's really poor. I would love that to be 99 or 100, but a lot of it can be due to server speed as well. That will always impact on your first contentful paint. There's not a lot of first contentful paint there anyway, just a header and a bit of text anyway. But bear that in mind that will affect your score. Now, my way of working is that when I install Elementor Pro and plugins and all of that, if I'm not hitting over 95, I get worried and start to dig a bit deeper. I know that if I add loads more content on there, the page score will, fluctuate and drop down a little bit. But then you work on your content to get it better. What I'm not going to do is stick in a whole page which hasn't been fully optimized in terms of layout and content and whatever. There might be an inner section, I don't know, whatever. And then say, oh, the score is 60%. I'm not going to do that. I'm showing you a real life example. Now, we are told that first contentful paint is a bit slow there. I am going to put that down to server speed, and I bet if I run this again, the score might go a little bit down and a little bit higher. And to prove my point, I've run it again, 100% on the desktop, and we go to the My Mobile, and we're now on 95%. I mean, I could keep hitting this over and over again. And so the server speed is slightly pulling it down, but that happens with SiteGround and other hosts as well. I can run my website, and my mobile score is 99 to 100. I can run it again, and it goes down to 77. Now, most people would worry about that, but it's your server speed, and it does fluctuate during the day, especially if you're on a shared platform. I've run it again, I'm at 96%. I'm not going to spend all my time doing this over and over again, but does that make a point? I'm running this on Chrome, by the way, for this page speed. What happens if I go to Edge? Now on Edge, the desktop is hitting 100%, as it should, because there's very little content on there. But for the mobile, it's 98%. So look, depending on the time of day or when you run it, your score might fluctuate up and down. And if you're hitting that range, 98, 99, 100, you carry on. And you can easily get to over 90% for your mobile website if you're very careful with your content layout. And if we go down to recommendations, I mean, there are some opportunities here. That is your server speed. We're then told about unused CSS. Well, that's my plugin, okay? That's not the cloud, okay? We got JavaScript. That, again, is my plugin with auto-optimize there. And we've got auto-optimize again. So there is nothing kicking in. Of course, there are no images. And I can hear you shouting at the screen right now. It's hitting me in the face. But when I build websites, if at this stage with the header and a basic heading, I'm hitting 98, 99, and 100, I crack on. And I can work carefully, methodically to make sure that when I get to the end of that home page with the footer, I'm still over 90%. I am convinced that Elementor Cloud is working really, really well here. So I'm now going to summarize. In terms of what you're paying for Elementor, this is value for money. Now, there is a link for you to go and purchase it, but I don't want you to do that unless you believe and know it works for you. I'm not here to sell you anything, all right? So please don't think this is a biased view. This is objective in terms of what I have found, and I am going to point out some things you definitely need to consider before you buy this. But Cloud, the page speed insight scores were fine, as I would expect, normally wherever I work on any hosting provider. Elementor Pro comes part of it, so you're only paying $50 a year, which is just over $4 a month. That is good value. It comes with WordPress and all of that installed. Yes, you are limited on plugins, but that might help protect you as well. But a lot of the plugins I use, WooCommerce or Toptimize, stuff like that, Rank Math, they all installed perfectly fine. And I went through the settings, asset cleanup as well, no issues. It even gives you some extra dummy pages, a dummy menu system as well, and a dummy header and footer to help you get going. But the beauty was the live chat. I mean, not only was it in your elementor.com section, when you go to your cloud website, you've got the live chat there, but it was also in your website. Hold on a second, this is a little bit crazy. So if I hit an issue, I can now talk to someone. So I've done it 3 times. Like yesterday, it took about just over a minute, 1 to 2 minutes for someone to reply. But it was about 4 minutes for the second time. And when I did the third one today, within 10 seconds, and that person spoke to me, told me about a point I'm going to make about a limitation in a moment. But they were responsive and they knew their stuff. And this is all through Elementor. So if there's an issue with your hosting or your website or whatever, it's all connected. Now then, the limitations that you must bear in mind, okay, if you have a custom domain, you're going to have to go through a little work to get that over. So if you're keeping your domain elsewhere, you got to make sure you put the A records in and Elementor tells you what to do, or check with your provider. If you have an email that sits with your host, provider, or whatever, you've got to now either keep paying for that if you want to maintain your email, or use a different solution like Zoho.com. Bear in mind, okay, that if you care about your emails, you might want to do that. And if you're not so fussed about that and you don't mind the emails going to your Gmail account or wherever you want them to go, the Elementor Cloud allows up to 100 emails a day. So think about that in terms of if you're a very big store, lots of notifications, lots of messages coming. Please bear that in mind, okay? Don't forget, though, even if you do go over the 100, it's probably still going to be in your form submissions and your WooCommerce orders. So it's not like the content is lost. There just might be a bit of a delay with when things come through. But bear that in mind. The other limitation is that you can't purge the server. So if I have an issue and I'm editing on Elementor, and I go to live and I can't see it in live, my steps are regenerate the CSS, purge the site, purge the server. And my fourth one is go outside and see what do I see outside on outside Wi-Fi, internet, whatever. But the Purge server is missing. It wouldn't be a bad thing if that facility was somehow available as well, just to purge the server for our bit. I don't know how we do that, but I would like to see that. Just going to go back a step. With the email, I'd love it if Elementor could somehow do something whereby when you do bring over your custom domain, you were able to set up an email as well. But that's just like, I don't know if that's on the cards or not. But they're just my limitations. That's it. Other than that, Elementor Cloud works really, really well. I think if I have a client who hasn't already sorted out their domain and their email and their hosting elsewhere, I will be saying to them, right, we're going to use Elementor Pro, and here's a fantastic deal. You go to Zoho.com and you pay whatever, $10 a year to get your domain and your email, whatever, which you probably would have paid anyway to 123reg or any other domain provider anyway. You're going to pay a yearly charge. And then you get your hosting, $99 a year with Elementor Pro. Cloud. The speed was okay. It worked for me. It kind of sells itself. And I bet, I'm going to make a bet that at some point in the future, that cost will go up. Things always do, okay? So this is a non-biased, objective review of Elementor Cloud. And if I had found lots of problems or anything like that, I would be telling you about them and how you get around it. Just like I did for the emails and the domain, the work you got to do, the purging the server, okay? So I'm not pretending to go, oh, this is really brilliant. You got to go and click that link and buy it. No, this is an objective review. And you know, any questions, ask me and I'll try and find out for you. But you've also got the Elementor community in the hub. Ask your questions there as well. But the live chat, that is a big selling point. And the response times were amazing. Super, super good. I hope that doesn't impact on the general response rate for non-cloud hosted Elementor, you know, subscribers and people that are using Elementor Pro. I hope there isn't an impact there. I would like to think there isn't. They're all one big happy family, okay? I hope you like. I hope you subscribe. I hope you share. Stick this video on your blog, your social media, embed it. Let everyone know what I think. And I hope you keep coming back, and I'll see you soon. Take care.